Welcome, everybody, to FraxCheck, your weekly Frax vibe check. I am Capital K, and I'm here with my co host, Sam, our producer extraordinaire. And this is April 19th to April 25th. Sam, how
24th.
are we doing today?
Oh, wait. We're recording on the 24th. We're good. I'm good. Everything is great.
Okay,
we're,
well,
we're speaking
uh,
to the future. Hello, everyone.
yes, yes. Hello, everyone, and I'm glad you're here to join me because this week I call this week you win some, you lose some.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you win some, you lose some, and I like to start us off with a loss. So you see on the next slide that we're actually down in our frac supply this week. We are down about 60 bips from a 1,045,000,000 down to 1,039,000,000. So we start off with a low L, but it's okay because, like I said, we win some, we lose some. But
Yeah.
on the next slide, you see that we actually held our peg somewhat all right for this week. We got as low as 0.996 to a high of 1.001. We then moved over to Curve to check what's going on in the markets. And you see here, swapping 100 million of Frax gets you 0.9988 exchange rate for USDC, which is not bad, which is frankly not bad. And then on the collateralization percent, I got some wins for you. We're up to
Yeah.
our new all-time high ATH of 94.3%, increasing of 50 bips from last week. But again, on the right hand side, for the viewers there and for those who are listening, we have a negative, a loss of 6.6% in the decentralization percent down to almost 21. So, like I said, you win some, you lose some. And on the next slide, we have our Frax BP, which is the base pool. And you see here, we gained 1 million in TVL last week, and we're at 499 million. And that is a 20 bips bump from last week. In terms of monthly volume, we are currently at 36.4 million for the pool, and we've only utilized 7.3%. This is markedly lower than where we were in March by like magnitudes. So, that's the Frax BP. But Sam, before you go into the next slide, I want to let you know we start with a big win here. I mean, we get a big win here. You
I
see
always
that
like
we
wins.
hit on the next slide.
I like wins. That's a win.
Boom.
All-time high.
Boom. ATH. A lot of
Breakout.
ATHs this week. This is definitely a range breakout. We are at 122% of the Frax BP versus 3 pool.
There's been some
And
three-pool FUD this week. Have you seen it?
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Three-pool FUD.
that some good old 3 pool FUD. I mean, I'm not gonna complain because the Frax BP ratio is up. So I'm definitely happy there. Um But yes, for all the listeners who can't see the chart, we actually have a range breakout. We've been ranging between 113, 114% for the last 4 weeks in this ratio. And now we broke an all time high at 122. And on the next slide, Sam, let's take a look at how these things compare stack side to side. You see that the Frax BP is at 499 million, 3 pool at 409 million,
Mhm.
and Frax 3 CRV at 288 million.
So is it
Uh,
three-pool? Is it three-pool going down, or is it Frax base pool going up, or Frax base pool
Ah,
just staying the same?
great question. So the Frax space pool did go up, but only by 1 mil. The
It's not that
3
much.
pool went down by 40.
40.
Or 39 point something. And
Do
then
you know
the
where? Do you know
and
where
then
it's going in your chart that is not here?
um
Frax PP.
no, I do not. Please tell the listener and the reader what is Frax PP.
We have a new base pool, and it's Frax USDP. And affectionately in the Telegram chat, it's being called Frax PP. So next week we'll have it on here. But we reported it this morning on Leviathan News, and or yesterday. And right now there's $82 million in Frax PP.
I will add this bad boy in there immediately, post haste.
In 1 week. In
And
1 week, it got $82 million. That's a lot. It's great.
it's massive. That's
It's
massive. But
yielding 6.5% as well too on the for a stable pool, which right now is great.
Oh, that's quite juicy.
Mhm.
But you know what else went a little crazy this week is the Frax 3 CRV dropped by a whole 100 million.
Wow.
So people definitely just
Oh,
migrated
wait.
over.
No, no, no. That means that it just got shifted over to
Yeah,
FraxPP. That
yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
we don't. I'm guessing that we don't need Frax 3 CRV anymore, and since we have FraxPP, and the 100 million loss in Frax 3 CRV is a
Mm-hmm.
100 million gain or $82 million gain for
Reshuffle.
Frax reshuffling
Yeah,
into Frax
yeah,
PP.
yeah. You just like saying that.
It's like saying it. It's gonna be a
I can
staple.
tell. I can tell. All right. So that's what's happening on the Frax BP side. But you see here, I got another win for you, Sam.
Oh
And
yeah,
that is our Frax
up
ETH
only
hit 12% week
12%,
over week.
back in
That is
double
some
digits.
spicy growth. We are so remember how we went to this low like right before the Chapella of like 4,
Hmm.
2% a week,
Hmm.
which was kind of like I was very sad. But then now we're coming back to that double digit growth. I believe we had 8% a week before, yeah, last week. So now we're kind of getting back up there in the high single digits, low double digits, which I'm
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Now let's take a look at where, just to give the count, it is 158,987 Frax ETH that has been minted, y'all. This is definitely a ATH for us here again. Now, for the FRAXETH, let's take a look at where all these FRAXETH are hanging out. In FRAXETH, we have 60% of the supply. In the Curve LP, we have 29%. And in the everything else category, it is a whopping 11%. Again, that is what Sam K calls the monetary premium, where everybody else who's earning the yield gets an extra basically 11% boost because they're not getting diluted. Very sweet here. Very, very sweet. And on the next slide, you see that we're going to check the peg because, again, FraxETH is simply a stable coin. And this exchange rate is honestly one of the best we've seen at 0.9992. And then when you go into the market, you get an exchange rate of when you swap 3,500 Frax ETH, which is the largest holder, which I might need to run that query again now that we've grown so much, that it is at the curve swap exchange rate is 0.9991. I think this is the closest I've seen the delta between the dashboard peg and the actual curve swap peg being this close.
Mm,
So this is nice. This is nice. And we also have 143 million in TVL in this pool. So not too shabby. Not too shabby.
it's great.
Yeah. And then I wanted to highlight on the next slide, we have another win. So Frax Ether mainly wins. So very happy here. We are almost at 2% in terms of market share. Let me break it down for everybody listening here. We have Lido at 74, Coinbase Wrapped ETH at 13, Rocket Pool at 6, and FraxEther at 2, Stakewise at 1. So we're getting up there. What I want to highlight here is our 30-day change. You recognize it's 27% versus Rocket Pool's 19% and
That's
Lido's 5%.
I'm looking at the Dune dashboard and I'm seeing something else though,
Yeah,
right?
it's different because I think the way they are, Dune doesn't track Coinbase Wrapped ETH or a couple other
No, I'm talking about for Rocket
Wrapped
Pool.
ETH.
Rocket Pool,
Oh, okay.
Dune has like way different numbers for Rocket Pool. So like in yours, here you have 527,000 for Rocket Pool. In the Dune dashboard, they only have 449,000. So there's a difference of almost like 70,000.
That's too
Uh,
many. Well, this is DeFi Llama, so
Maybe
um,
default element is, I don't know. I mean, the Dune dashboard should be right. I mean, who's right? Is it the structure FRaxETH dashboard? Let me
the
check it
chain is
differently.
right. Let
The
me
chain
tell
is
you
right. So
who's
that
right.
means the Dune is right as well too, right?
I mean, DeFi Llama also pulls from the chain, I would imagine,
Uh,
unless there's some funky subgraph situation going on. Um,
yeah, I'm looking at a different Dune dashboard and it says 445,000. So maybe
you,
DeFi Llama is wrong, right?
you're
Because
looking at the structure dashboard, right?
I was looking at the structure one. Yeah, structure
Yeah,
dashboard
yeah.
says 447,000.
Don't worry, I'm very familiar with this dashboard. Actually,
And
that was the first one I used until I switched over to
I
this
think
one.
DeFi Llama is wrong because like here's another one. Here's like the official one created by Rocket Pool, and it says 495,000. So none of the dashboards that I have say over 500,000, and the DeFi Llama says 527. So that I think it's off by quite a bit because the structure
Well,
one says that the Rocket Pool has only gained 3% in the
but
last 30 days.
yeah, but also if you look at the Frax, it's lower on the structure dashboard as well too at 130
No, but that's
versus
correct. No, but that's correct, right? Because they're
because it doesn't roll in. I see into
right.
another week.
We were just talking about like so that's the amount of ETH that's staked. So FractETH, while there is 158,987 FractETH in existence,
Mhm.
when you're looking at the actual staking, there's only 129,000 of
Maybe
Frax.
that's the same thing for Rocket Pool then, where
Potentially
there's the delay because DeFi Llama just gives you the whole, kit and caboodle, bam.
the entire supply. Yeah.
Yeah, could be possible. Could be possible. But either way, at least we pointed at that out to the audience here. You go to DeFi Llama, you'll see certain stats, and you go to structures, this Dune dashboard, you'll see the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to point out. But regardless, we clearly see inflows into Rocket Pool and FraxEther, or rather, it's net deposits. There may
Yeah.
have been some withdrawals, but it's net deposits across the board, except for
Across the board.
Coinbase, obviously. Obviously, but I can't always give us too many wins, right, Sam? Because sometimes, like the title of this episode, you win some, you lose some. And on the next slide, you'll see that we are taking a little L here. We have dropped to third place in terms of yield rankings here. We have Anchor on the top at 6.6, Stakewise at 6.2, FraxEther at 5.3, Rocket Pool at 5, and Lido at 5. This was very surprising to me when I saw this. And I kind of looked into Lido. I went to the FrxETher page and confirmed that is the rate. Went to the Lido page, also confirmed that is the rate. But I've yet to look into Anchor and Stakewise. Sam, any thoughts here?
Yeah. So I think so you can mint a ton of FraxETH and then deposit it into the stake FraxETH contract. And it takes time remember, there's what was
Right, 7 days, I think.
No. Let me look at the thing. So like if we go back to market share, remember we have 158,000, but looking at the structure Dune dashboard, there's only 129,000 FraxETH staked
Right.
at the current moment. So there's a gap of what, like 20,000 ETH. So all the ETH that's staked in FraxETH, it's getting 20% less than it should, just because it's not staked yet. So
Well, in 7 days,
once
when it'll
those
be staked.
validators come online, then those rewards will pick back up, and we should go back into number one.
Well, tune in next week to see if that's the case. But yes, so we are definitely in the middle of the pack here. At least we're not the bottom. I guess that's a win. But on the next slide, you'll see our new, Sam's favorite product, the
Nothing's changed.
FPI. And actually, one thing has changed. I was wondering if you had
Really?
noticed two things changed. So for the Convex and FPI Frax, they actually shifted. You see how that orange line just kind of dipped? They shifted almost half of that back into the controller wallet. So that they moved it during that whole crazy circle situation, just to kind of defend the peg per se, and then just add liquidity because just for the listeners here, we have 50% of the FPI Frax in the treasury is in the Convex, 45% is in the Frax FPI, basically a multi-sig, and then everything else is in the 5% bucket. But during the whole fiasco, they moved all of that Frax and FPI from the multi-sig into the Convex pool just to, I guess, bolster the liquidity there. But now that things are settling, they moved it all back into the multi-sig. And another thing is the equity portion here. That actually dropped, Sam, by like about 10%. I couldn't figure out where that quote equity went because the inflation peg didn't really change necessarily, and the supply cap didn't change either. So there's some interesting thing happening there that I need to
Well,
dig
revenue is
into.
still positive. I mean, revenue is really positive for this month.
Printing, but yes. But
Printing,
Sam,
right?
don't front run me. Don't front run me. I have a
Right.
section on that.
Sorry. We'll get
But
there.
yes,
Okay.
yes. This is FPI, so interesting stuff. But on the next slide, you'll see that we took some L's across the board here for FRAXLEND. Although you see the supply value increasing above our USDC fiasco situation,
Hmm.
but our TVL actually dropped by about 8 million, so a little less than 4%.
Hmm.
So kind of sad there. But on the borrowing, you also see that we dropped the utilization rate also dropped by 6% back down to 65. So things things are slightly bearish a little bit on the FraxLend, which is surprising to me because if you go to the next slide, you'll see that the pair breakdown is quite decent. Like I want to highlight here the FRAXETH and Frax borrowing pair. You get to borrow at like 2% while earning 5. So you're literally still getting paid to borrow here. But I yeah, obviously we have some other crazy yields on the top, but that's the V1, so you fairly ignore that. And in terms of CVR Frax, we're still printing 9% on all your stables. So
Hmm.
if anybody's playing that CRV USD, wants to get a little USD gen, you can come here and do this and um, borrow some frax to leverage on your CRV. And for all the frax holders, you can come in and take advantage of that by supplying your frax for this 9% sweet, sweet APY here.
That's
Again,
great.
DYOR. We are biased, extremely, extremely biased. Okay, all right. So that's it for FraxLend. You see, we'll move on to the last leg of the DeFi Trinity, which is Frax Swap. Again, we took an L here, down 7%, down to 67 million TVL. Though I do want to highlight for a DEX that nobody talks about or nobody knows about, we are performing some pretty sweet volume, and you will see that on the next slide that for the last 7 days, Frax Swaps' FXS Frax has printed 14 million in volume. And this volume, ladies and gents, has been stable at around 14, 15 for the last 3 weeks since I started tracking it in April.
Hmm.
So no matter what, this is still a de facto place to go to get some FXS on chain at least. And if you just do some quick math, right, that is around 15 million per week. So in a month's time, we've pretty much cycled through the whole TVL of Frax Swap just with the FXS Frax pair. You know, like that's how much volume this thing is facilitating. So I think it's doing great. And underneath that, the other most popular pair is the IQ and Frax, which which facilitated $3 million of volume in the last 7 days. So that is it for our product section. We're now transitioning over to our profitability. And as always, we start with the AMO. And Sam, we took another L here. Okay. We take some W's and we take some L's. On the next slide, we have a pretty fat L of negative 12% here.
Oof.
And as mentioned earlier, we have a drop in the curve AMO, but
I
as
don't.
Sam
Yeah, I
pointed
don't
out,
believe it.
you
It's
know,
just not. It's that's not true because it's still there. It's just in Frax PP and it's probably not being picked up.
yep, that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Frax PP is currently not being picked up by the AMO dashboard yet. So, but I'm only going to report on what's on the dashboard. So we can add it back in next week when it comes. So here we have the curve AMO dropping by 100 mil. But like we said, asterisk Frax PP. And then on the liquidity AMO, we dropped 6 million to 76 million. On the lending AMO, we remain flat, and on the investor AMO, we drop by 4 million. Therefore, our total AMO size right now is 820 million, with the asterisk of 80 million in Frax PP. So that is what's going on with the AMO. But let's take a look in the convex AMO and see how we are doing. So for April, so far the month of April, we have a loss of 120K. That comes from a revenue of 1.47 million and an expense of which are bribes expenses of 1.59 million. The
It's pretty good.
delta there is 120K, which is
Yeah,
actually really freaking good.
it's good.
Um,
Yeah, it means
it's
we're very efficient in
yeah,
getting everything out.
really, really freaking good. And I think we just might luck out because the voting bribes fall on the May instead of April. So
Yeah.
we really might end this month green. All right. On the next slide, you see here that we have the FRAXLEND AMO. And we have let me just run through the numbers for the folks listening. We have the total minted frax of 65 million.
Hmm.
Out of that, 50 million, or rather 49.5, is lent out. So that is how much FraxLend is being put to work right now, about 50 million. And with that 50 million, we're generating, Sam, get this, about 21.4K a week
That's great.
in revenue. In revenue. So for April, we have 64K in revenue, which is freaking amazing. Love to see it. Love to see it. But in addition to the FraxLand AMO revenue, we also get revenue from liquidation. And our community's taking an L with us, bro. We have one liquidation this week, 4 days ago. You guys can't see it
Oh
in the
man,
chart here, but 4 days ago, this gentleman
a fracture.
or this lady or this individual or this wallet, more accurately said, lost 121 dollars in terms of liquidation fee, and they got liquidated on their FXS leverage pair.
Oh man,
Um, I know, Max Payne, the
Max
leverage
Payne.
price you see there at 8.9. So
Oh
everybody
no.
stay safe out there. Everybody stay safe out there. But on some good news, I want to show you guys that on April, our Sam's favorite FPI printed a fat stack of
Oof.
179K in April revenue. That is fat. And
I
plus
can't.
they had like about 5K in unclaimed rewards too. So FPI is on a whole new level. And
I think.
for yeah.
I think
Go
it's
ahead,
time to
Sam.
raise the cap. I've been thinking about like, I know the team's probably thinking about it, but it's time to raise the cap. We need to at least raise it at least somewhere between like 3 to 5% a month, month to month
Yeah. I mean,
going
I think
forward.
it should really be based on what the equity portion is, right? Like, hey, whatever the equity portion is, you get to increase, 10x
10%,
that.
10
Yeah,
percent of the
exactly.
equity.
No, no, not like the other way around, because then you only need to generate 5% on top, right? So if the equity is 5
10x of the
million,
equity is like 50 million, right?
yeah. I mean, because
That would be
you
nice.
could,
Yeah.
because theoretically you only need to keep up with 5% inflation. So even if you 10x it, you still have a lot of like.
Or maybe it's like 20 times whatever 20 times equity is.
Yeah, I mean, 20 times equity is like full on. We take all the equity and we just minted it. So that's
No,
why I say
20
10x just
times
to be
equity
safe.
would essentially double the cap, right? Because like we're at 88 million right now, and we have
Hmm.
$4.8 million of equity. So
Yeah,
that would be like what times 20 is 90. No, actually, maybe it's 40 times equity. 40 times equity.
I think that's a bit much, just because then you need to have that buffer, right?
Yeah,
So I feel like you rather do 10x at a time, but in increments of 10x could probably be very healthy.
yeah.
But anyways, so we saw all the revenue, and I'm gonna aggregate all of them for you guys
Oof,
here, and we are green. Mr. Sam. We
feels
are
good.
green. It feels great. It feels great. Okay. And for all you detractors out there that says FPI shouldn't be included in this, well, I'm including it because it still has the word frax in it. So we are at, just for the listeners, the convex AMO has a loss of 120K. FraxLend had a revenue of 64K. FraxLend liquidation, I forgot to add it here, but it's 121. FPI revenue was 179K, which gives us a net revenue of 123,000
Mm,
for the month of April so far.
you like to see it.
We love to see it. And that is it for this week's Frax Check. Sam, any last words? And please send us out.
No, and you can find me at Traders Insight, Traders_Insight. And I know where to find you. It's OX on Twitter. Please follow us on Twitter, also YouTube, and also podcasts as well too. Even if you just kind of like tune in every now and again, throw in a subscribe and a like and a comment wherever we have our shows is very helpful. And sharing it out. and helping grow in the user base is always good, because more people need to know about Frax, and they should know about the numbers, and they should tune into FraxCheck.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.